30 minutes later, I went back to the house. The house was gone. 6 months later, we had donated our first 2 or 3 million. I wanted to be involved in my children's education. That is the one thing that has made the most difference in raising our children. He came after the test and he's like, psychological survey. Do you really feel like you're a boy or a girl? Survey that the school was required to do as part of getting the government funding. They're my children. They're not the school's children. So the school has to follow your instructions. It gets more complicated to get the same result.
Okay, guys, today I have my good friend Ken Walker, who in fact was my wife's first employer after we left the nonprofit world.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, by the way, getting us off on a good start.
Yeah, we love your wife. So.
Yeah. So basically, Ken is a third-generation Scientologist.
Yeah.
Also married a third-generation Scientologist.
I did.
So there's a lot of history. There's a lot of Scientology in his life. He also is extremely successful as a business person. Him, his wife, and his companies together have made tens of millions of dollars take home. That's like bottom line. Not talking about sales. Like this guy is he's rich, okay? But in a good way, because he's also extremely philanthropic and is changing the world with not just his donations, but through what he's doing in the business, helping with housing, helping with people getting mortgages, getting lending. People who have a hard time getting loans, they get hard money loans where the banks tell you no. So if the bank tells you no, you go to a guy like this guy. And if you want to see there's a full episode on Aaron Cordova's podcast. You can look up his name, my name, and that podcast is there on the business side. We're going to get into a lot more the family side because Ken is a very, very successful parent. Okay, his 2 children, 16 and 13 years old, Callie and Braden, are Braden and Callie, right, age-wise.
Yeah.
They're incredible people, brilliant, super kind-mannered, and they know, I mean, they're just incredible. So you've done a fantastic job. So I want to get into that, all the things and tips that you've done. And anyway, born in San Diego, living in California a lot of your life. And so guys, welcome, Ken, to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. He's also at the top of the bridge. So is your wife,
Yeah.
Ari. And your son actually went clear.
Yeah, he just recently attested to clear.
Yeah, and he's also a trained auditor, right? At one of the highest levels, class 4, right?
Yeah, he's doing an internship through to practice his auditing skills at our top church, Flag, in Florida here, and he's doing absolutely wonderful. He's totally killing it.
Yeah. So I want to ask your, I guess, journey for better words. I mean, like, the third generation Scientologist is like a lot. I mean, that's a lot of, like, you guys are like the OGs. I mean, that's like a while back. The original hasn't been around that long. So
That's true.
do you know, like, how your grandparents got involved originally?
My grandparents on my mother's side and my mom found Scientology in Berkeley, California. At a mission or something there, got on lines, found the communication skills that are taught in the church to be fascinating and extremely helpful in their lives. And because of that, started doing more courses, did some auditing, and they all got up the bridge as well. Yeah, we come from a whole line of active, participating Scientologists because we see that it helps.
Yeah.
So.
And so in UC Berkeley, that's like obviously college campus, right?
Yeah.
And do you know, like, I just wonder, like, they I don't know, they walk into a place, and if you don't know, it's obviously fine. Like, again, it's not an interview for them. I'm just curious, like, that one fateful day.
I honestly have no idea.
Okay.
I know that they ended up in a mission, and they were given some brochure on the communication skills, and they're like, wow, this makes sense. Went in and did a course, found it to be extremely helpful and useful in life, which is really what Scientology is all about, right?
Yep.
Useful tools for life and living. And that was the beginning of their journey.
Okay, nice. Yeah. And then, so for you, so then that's like your grandmother, and then your mom, right?
Yeah, my grandma and grandpa on my mom's side, and then my mom and my dad, and then they ended up getting divorced. It was all amicable. They just had different paths. So my dad's on New OT7, and then she remarried, and so this was when I was young. I was like maybe 6 or 7 at that time. My mom remarried with my stepdad, and he went up the bridge, New OT5.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Great. And so for you, like, how was it like growing up? Like, you're growing up. Obviously, at some point, you're in Scientology now, so you got started somehow, some way, sometime. So, like,
Yeah.
do you remember? You just always had Scientology around, or was there a moment when it was like you found out about it? Or
A little bit of both, actually.
Okay.
So when I was real young, my first memories of Scientology are going to like a Scientology, like a Sunday school type
Mhm.
setting, sitting down and doing communication drills.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them that I specifically remember was where you sit down and you confront another person and you bull bait them,
Mm-hmm.
right? You push their buttons. You find things that make them react.
Yeah.
And my aunt was also in Scientology, and she sat down and she was bull baiting me on kittens, and I'm like 5 years old, 4 years old, and kittens was just the funniest thing to me at the time. So I had a lot of fun times doing those drills.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we moved to Northern California when I was 6 or 7 years old, we were near San Francisco, and my parents had a lot of friends at San Francisco, at the Church of Scientology in San Francisco. So we ended up going there, driving there over the weekends, and I did some services there and decided, like, this is really cool. I like this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in this. And then in 1994, right? I think that's when it was, where the Church of Scientology ended its battle with the IRS
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
obtained religious recognition. I got invited to go to that event, so I was real young. I was like 13 or 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Went out to the event. There were tens of thousands of people at this event, and I was like, oh my God, I had no idea how big Scientology was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at that moment that I was like, okay, I see that there's like a ground movement here,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to be part of it.
Mm.
Um, and that was pretty much my pivotal point in my life where I was like, okay, this is interesting too. This is something that I want to do. I see that it's helping others. I see that it's important.
Nice. And so, with your mom,
Yeah.
how much, like, okay, you're in school. You went to public school, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. So the public school, did you know anyone else in school who was also a Scientologist? You were kind of the only one. How was that?
I was the only one.
Yep.
And it's funny, it actually made me feel separated from the other students, the other kids there, because everyone else in the public schools was there for a different purpose. They were there to mess around, to find girls, to have sexual relations, or the occasional drug deal over underneath the bleachers. They weren't there for education.
Right.
So I was there for education, and in the studies that I did with Scientology, learning how to study and how to communicate, I ended up finding that I would excel at the classes because the other students that were there weren't there to study. So I was there to study. So it took me half as much time to learn everything. And then I ended up in all these advanced classes and kind of advanced out of the school. And when I was 14, I was like, okay, I've had enough school. And at that point, dropped out of school to start working.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, it doesn't have to be amazing. It could be amazing. But at the end of the day, if you're ahead and you're done, like, at least for me, school, man, I don't know. Like, you're there at school for whatever, 7 hours, 6 hours, whatever it is. But when I was there, I mean, I would sleep at least half the time. I was allowed to. And, like, I don't know, man. I mean, if you think it's bad that someone is leaving school because they're ahead and they're ready to start their life, like, okay, cool. Well,
yeah, it is what it is. I don't know what to say about this. It's a slightly polarized subject.
Yep.
Some are like, you have to stay in school. You have to get through college. You should get a degree. You should do this. And others are like, yeah, just quit school because it's brainwashing and it's this and it's that, and go start your life. And I know extremely successful people who have done both routes. Extremely successful people who've gone through college, and extremely successful people who quit saying school was a waste of their time. So
Either way, like
yeah,
that, yeah, fine,
yeah,
whatever fits
yeah.
for you. So when in your like, when did you start your first company?
Um, I started my first company in, I think it was 2009 or 2010.
Okay. So at that point you were about 30, correct? Ish?
Yeah.
Okay. And so to build up to that point, right? Like, what did you learn or what did you study you think that had, I mean, it's been very successful, your businesses, I mean,
Yeah.
clearly. So what do you think was your foundation? Like, you're ready to start the business. I know I've done this and this, or maybe some job that you've done or something that you've done that like, hey, this is a good foundation that I got to start the business.
That's a tricky question because my businesses are all in the field of real estate.
Yeah.
Right. I've got a rental company, a mortgage company, a loan servicing company, a real estate investment company. So they're all in the fields of real estate. And to start those companies, prior to my first company, I had flipped a bunch of houses. Um, and that gave me a good understanding of the real estate itself. So then I could start buying houses and turning them into rentals. And I understood, the physical house itself didn't scare me because I knew every part of it. But beside from that, I would say the fact that I have a goal and an ambition in my life is what drove me to be able to build businesses. Not so much what I learned in school or what somebody taught me, but having that drive or desire. I want to help my religion. I want to help Scientology. So I donate a lot to Scientology or to other programs that are based on the works of L. Ron Hubbard, and criminal reform or drug rehabilitation, programs that do that. And I can't help those entities or those organizations unless I make money to be able to support those organizations. So I could scale back on my businesses and have a super comfortable life and not help my church and still be super successful. Or if I want to help my church and be, philanthropic, then I need to expand my businesses to be able to do that. And that's what drove me.
Interesting. So when did you decide, like, dude, I want to help these activities. I mean, things are not great around, and we need to make changes. We need to, like, we call it put our shoulder to the wheel, right? Like get going. When did you decide that?
So you'll like this. So this actually happened for us in 2017.
Yeah.
And what happened was we live in Northern California, and there were these firestorms that ripped through our county, destroyed about 6,000 houses, hundreds of thousands of acres. It was kind of the start of the whole California, fire evolution. And now every year is a new fire incident in California. This was kind of at the beginning of it. We lost our house. My wife woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to the bathroom. She noticed a red glowing outside through the window. She peeked outside, and there were 3 large fires on the hills coming towards our house. She woke me up. Within 30 minutes, we had collected our kids, our cat, and what else did we get? My wife grabbed her purse, and we drove away in our cars. That was all we left with. Because 3 o'clock in the morning, there's no power, there's fires, there's smoke, it's chaos. You're not really thinking things through other than I got to get away. And our thought was, we'll come back later to get everything. 30 minutes later, I realized that I should probably go turn the sprinklers on, create some kind of moisture barrier, right? 30 minutes later, I went back to the house. The house was gone.
Fully gone.
Fully gone. There was nothing left. It was just rubble, like literally nothing left. So it was.
Thank you, Ari, for saving the family.
Yes, thank you. But having gone through something like that, it's rather traumatic. Traumatic. We went from having all this stuff to having nothing. except what we had in our bank and the cars that we drove away with.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids didn't even have shoes, right? We just threw them in the car and drove away. So it took us a few weeks to kind of get over that shock, but then we ended up we're invited to a church event
Mm-hmm.
where they were fundraising for activities, including like the volunteer minister program for the
Mm-hmm.
Church of Scientology, as well as the drug rehab and criminal reform and these things. And we saw other church members who were going up on stage, getting acknowledged for large contributions
Mm-hmm.
and the effects that they were having. And both Ari and I, my wife is Ari, both Ari and I look at each other and we say, we are no longer going to be a victim. This is what we're going to start doing. And it was that exact moment that changed our trajectory in our businesses. I think within 6 months, let's see. So prior to that, I was making a comfortable. I was making enough money to live comfortably, but not to contribute or donate to any charity type activities.
Mm-hmm.
6 months later, I think we had donated maybe our first 2 or 3 million.
Wow, that's a lot.
And we didn't change anything in our company except the drive, because we did not want to be an effect. And we found ourselves in this situation being a complete effect. We had like no hope. We were totally lost. And then we saw that others were doing something effective to change the environment. And we went from being effect to, that's what we're doing. We're going to be effective. That was the only difference.
Wow. And that's a huge, that's like what, like a 5X, a 3X, like how, like.
Yeah, but it didn't stop there. We've donated, we donated so much money, but it's for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
We want to help others. We don't want others going through what we went through.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we do that? We need to make the world a better place. Less criminals, less drugs on the street, more people willing to help others through the volunteer minister program. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's amazing. I remember that. Like when you told me that
Yeah.
your house got burned down.
It was rough. That you'd cry ourselves to sleep. It was rough. But
And it was that a brand new house, wasn't it?
no, that was not a brand new house, but we had purchased it. So we bought that house 2 years prior.
Okay.
Lived in it for 1 year
Yeah.
so that we could see what we wanted changed about it.
Okay.
Spent the next year remodeling the house.
Oh.
We had one room left to finish remodeling, and then we had a fully remodeled house. We had just put in the new front door, and then that night, all gone.
Wow. So you must have known people who also lost everything. I mean, it was the whole area got totally devastated.
Yeah.
What reactions did you see around? I mean, your response, it was like, obviously you guys got pushed to the ground and then you came up really strongly. What kind of other effects did you see around you, like the typical response to that?
The typical response lasted for about 2 years, and it was hopelessness. Totally restimulated and upset and unable to come out of that upset because of it. 1 year later, there was another fire that came close to the area, and it didn't end up coming in or burning down any houses, but just the fact that it was possible. I know of 3 people who were like, we can't handle this, and moved out of the area because they lost their house in 2017, and then a year later, this thing happened. It went on for years. We ended up having to help lots and lots of people, which we were happy to do, with supplies and donations. And we had thousands of people who were contacts that we had from across the U.S. who reached out and sent us stuff. And we use those supplies to help others. When others, months later would come up to us, like, we see that you're not still upset about this, right?
Wow. Wow.
Which is hard for people to understand when they're fully, stuck into being upset about it.
Yeah.
And we would end up giving them assists and, help them come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But, we let them know straight up. What got us out of it was applying these Scientology tools.
Mm-hmm.
We did assists on ourselves. We went to our church and received auditing or counseling. And, but it wasn't a rapid recovery for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Now, I want to, at that point, your children were somewhat young.
Yeah, so 2017. So our son was maybe 7, and our daughter was about 5.
Yeah. How was it like on them when, the house is gone, I don't know if kids are there, you're kind of unfazed, like, oh, good, and our house is not there, or was it hard? Like, how did it affect the children?
It definitely affected them, because they lost all their toys. What's you lose what's real to you,
Yep.
right? So a new kitchen isn't real to our 5-year-old.
Right.
That was real to me, but that wasn't real to our kids.
Yeah.
But what was real to them was their toys, right? Or our daughter had this, those little binkies. It's like a little bunny with this like washcloth thing that you hold on to. She held on to that thing from the day she was born until the fires.
Wow.
That was probably her biggest loss. That she lost that possession of hers.
Mm-hmm.
And we had chickens at the time. So, I joke we ended up with fried chicken, but not everybody likes that joke. But I grew up on a farm, so.
Yeah.
But and then so the loss of our chickens was hard on our kids, but we grew. Our kids grew up in a Scientology environment and with Scientology tools and assists that we did on them on a daily and weekly basis. So our son, he was the first one to jump in and help with his sister. He started explaining to her how we don't have to pay attention to what we lost because now we get to go out and buy all new things. Now we get to design and create our own bedroom. Now we get to buy, get new chickens and raise them, so that it turned the focus from loss and death and all this terribleness to a positive creation, what we get to look forward to. And then my 5-year-old son did assists on, she was 3 years old, I think, at the time, doing a locational assist, getting her attention out, looking at different things. So I was real
proud dad moment.
Yeah. I was real proud to see that, our 5-year-old son using the tools that we grew up with to help his sister.
Right.
So
that's amazing. And then what happened to the schooling? So for the kids, like, did they change schools? The school was fine? And,
the school was fine. There was one, like a satellite campus that burned down, and they just moved those over into the main campus.
Okay.
But the school that they were at was actually extremely helpful, very neighborly, created a whole Goodwill center at their school, got, tons of items donated, and, it was a really good school.
Great. So. And so, and now, okay, so you're in your new place after the fires.
Yeah.
Your kids are now growing up. And, I mean, you've told me some tips. Like, I ask you, like, I literally see your children. I'm like, okay, good. When my kids grow up, I want to make sure they're smart like these guys.
You want your kids to grow up and be smart, successcientindependent, right?
That's right. So what are, like, your tips, like, as being a father, being a Scientologist, being a trained Scientologist, like, what do you do? What do you teach your children? Something that anybody can use. I mean, you don't have to be a Scientologist to, like, do some things. But
yeah.
What are your tips for
I would
raising
say
kids?
I was given a datum once by somebody who was a training officer who trained hundreds of other people, right? And he said the one difference that he saw in all the people that came to him for training for whatever job it is that they were going to do was not what school they went to,
Mm-hmm.
not whether they went to Harvard or community college or they went to, some real bad school or some highly rated school. It was how involved is the parent in their education.
Mm.
So I found that to be a good stable datum. So I adopted that as a stable datum. I wanted to be involved in my children's education because that was the difference, that someone who had hundreds and hundreds of people coming through him for educational purposes, that was the difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the tools in Scientology is word clearing.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't understand a word, you clear it up, right? Novel concept. It's not taught in schools,
Yeah.
right? You're taught to not ask questions, don't raise your hands. That's what you get taught in school, because teachers, they, unfortunately, they either don't have the technology or they don't have the time,
Yep.
right? You got one teacher, 60 kids. If each one raises their hand, you got no time to teach, right? So put your hand down, stop talking, no questions. Look at this board. You got to remember this because this is on the test. And it's filled with 5 words that they have no clue what they are, but they're trying really hard to remember that for their test, right? So I took this word clearing technology that L. Ron Hubbard, developed and used it with my kids every single day without fail. 15 to 20 minutes every night when they got home. It was time that I spent with them, and we had fun, so it wasn't a chore. And I just went through their school materials. What does this mean? What does that mean? What does this mean? And when there was something they didn't understand, I opened up the dictionary and said, well, this is what it means. And I would say every other word that we cleared, you could see this light bulb turn on in them. They would be like, oh, now I understand. Oh, that's what she was saying. Oh, now I know how to do it. And it all just came down to word clearing. It's like the simplest thing. Pull out a dictionary and just clear the words that are in the materials. So I did that every day from kindergarten through elementary school. And because of that, our kids were straight A students. They never failed a test. They were extremely helpful and kind in school. They would help other kids. They would help the teacher. They had this amazing mentality with others in school. Our daughter in first or second grade, the teacher called us in because there was some upset, and Callie was somehow involved in this upset. So I asked Callie, what happened? And she said, well, my friend, I just want to be friends with everyone. That's her response, right? And she's like, but this friend and this friend don't like getting along. So we worked out, okay, how can you deal with this situation? And our son as well, he wanted to be friends with everyone. And we associate that or attribute that to the word clearing that we did with them, because I don't know if you've ever spoken to somebody who had misunderstoods. They go like, they have these outbursts, right? They react. You have a misunderstood word and you react because of that. It's not that you're a good or bad person. That's just what a misunderstood word causes.
Yep.
So they didn't have this. So they were genuinely kind and caring and helpful. So I did that through their entire elementary, and I would say that is the one thing that has made the most difference in raising our children.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And how, like, by the way, for guys that work there, I do something similar. I probably need to put a little bit more time. But every time I hear you, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this every day.
Yeah.
Haven't stuck to it. But
okay, so
there you go.
Now our daughter is 13,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So she's in middle school. Our son is just turned 16, and he's doing his training to become an auditor. And they both want to start living their life, right? Me as a dad, I'm no longer the top priority. I'm not the opinion leader. They start looking to others for opinions and stuff like that, which is fine. May not be heartwarming on my side, but I know they grow up,
Yep.
right? They want to become their own adult, and they're actively working on that. So having going through this right now, I wish I spent even more time with them, because those moments, they're so precious. The more time you can spend with your kids, the better.
Yeah, and here you have an active thing. You're helping them solve what most of their day is at school learning something.
Yeah.
And so you're helping them with what they need help with.
Yeah.
And so how was like over time, were they like, hey, I need help with this, or like how I don't know, I'm just wondering kind of the flow, right? How easygoing it is, or they're like, oh, Dad, like, do we have to do this, or how does it? I don't know how is it?
Yeah. Well, there were some when we first started. It was like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I attribute that
To the misunderstood word.
to the misunderstood word.
Yeah,
They didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And every single word I asked, they did not know.
Right.
They had some invented definition that they just created,
Yep.
or they had no clue, or they said, well, my friend told me it was this, which was totally wrong.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with what the word was.
Yeah.
So after about maybe the first week or two of doing it, then they looked forward to it. And then after that, I would say after the first school year of doing it, then the next school year, I'd start asking questions like, what does this word mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I already asked my teacher what that word means, and she told me it means this, right? They started taking their own initiative and clearing the words before they even came to me. By the third year, they had their own dictionary. They were clearing their own words because they knew when I got home, it was time to check over it, right?
Yeah.
So they wanted to make sure that they knew. And then by the fourth school year, 9/10 of the words that I checked them out on, they knew.
Yep.
So it got easier, and the easier it got, the more they created a game out of it. There were definitely times where they're like, do we have to do this today?
Yep.
Those were the days where I found the most misunderstood words.
Yeah, right.
But
that's like school.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
most kids don't even want to, like, no, I don't know about most, but at least when I was around, pretty much the people that I knew did not want to be in school.
Same.
Right? I mean, that's kind of a
Yeah.
normal attitude.
Same.
And at straight A's, I'm imagining they're not really that reluctant about school.
No, our son did a test in school. I think it was his fifth grade, I think. He missed one question on this test. When he got the score from the teacher, it was like a 98.5%, right? Which is an A+. He emailed the teacher, what did I miss on this test where I didn't get 100%?
Yeah.
How did I miss something? I don't understand.
Yeah.
This isn't like, he wasn't okay.
It was offended.
Right? He was offended. The teacher responded saying, yeah, don't worry, you got an A+. You did really good. Yeah. And his response was, well, for me, if I don't get 100%, then I missed something.
Yeah.
Like that's his mentality.
Right.
That's his mentality today. And the same with our daughter. I just received an email a week ago from her English teacher because they changed the grading system in the school from, I don't know, they keep changing stuff in school. So they changed the grading system in school, which affected how her grade looked. So she thought her grade dropped. She went and jumped all over the teacher about this. And the teacher said, don't worry, it's just the way it's being reported, and I'm going to give you a few extra credits because you're doing really good. And then she sent us an email about how amazing and healthy and strong-willed and wonderful young woman that we've raised. She can see that this is somebody who genuinely cares in life about what she's accomplishing. And I know without certainty that this is because of the care that we put into our children's upbringing through their schooling. So,
You said without certainty, without a doubt,
without a doubt, without any uncertainty. There it is.
That's amazing. Okay. Can you tell me, because you've been seeing the materials as they go, like all the stuff that they study, and so California, you hear a lot of stuff, right, about school, private school, public school.
Oh, get me started.
Or private school, public school. What school?
So they did a public school.
Okay.
But the public school that we put them in, because we went and we visited every school.
Okay.
The public school that we ended up putting them in was a school that was much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
So her classes had maybe 15 to 20 kids tops
Okay.
per teacher. So lots of teacher-student interaction. And I discovered through this particular school system that schools are funded by the government based on the level of income housing around them. So the more lower income housing, the more government funding, the more government influence is put into a school.
Okay.
This particular school didn't have much low income housing around it, so the school required, as part of your kids going there, more parent interaction.
Okay.
So there was a lot of parent interaction and parent donations to make the school perform.
Oh, wow.
So it was a public school, but it was almost treated
Kinda like a
private
private,
in
yeah.
a way.
Okay.
So
So tell me, like, over the last whatever years, right? Like 10 years in the school system.
Yeah.
How have you seen the stuff that they bring home to study? How has it changed? You're in California. You're at like the heat of like whatever schooling controversies.
yeah,
What have you seen in the stuff that these kids are studying these days?
it gets more complicated to get the same result.
Mm-hmm.
Common Core is an example.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my son, when he was in 3rd or 4th grade, brought home this like Common Core math sheet, and it was, I think it was multiplication, and you had to put the numbers up here and put the numbers down here and fill in these grids and then add all these grids up, and it results in some number,
Mm-hmm.
right? It results in the right number,
Mm-hmm.
but it's this whole complicated way to get to it. So so I did this. I said, all right, Braden, you want me to show you something really cool? I'm going to teach you a way to get the same answer that takes like 4 seconds. And I showed him, how I did math when I was in school.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, this is how you do it. Here, here, and you add it here, here, and here's your answer. And he was like, how'd you do that? So because the schools were going in this direction of adding in complexities,
Mm-hmm.
I taught them in each subject how I was taught,
Mm-hmm.
so that they would have both as a comparison. And then when they did tests, they would be required. Some tests would require they showed their whole Common Core math formula,
Mm-hmm.
and some wouldn't require that. And when it wasn't required, then they would just do it, the way that I had taught them.
Mm-hmm.
So they have multiple ways to accomplish the same thing, but more complicated in terms of the work that they had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then they started introducing just unnecessary stuff.
For example.
For example, they'd get, when our son went to middle school the first year, maybe into the first trimester, out comes this psychological survey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you, what gender are you?
Mm.
Do you really feel like you're a man or a boy or a girl? What are your thoughts on this subject? And it's like some survey that the school was required to do
Oh.
as part of getting the government funding.
Oh.
So I don't know that the school itself, I don't know what to make of it.
Sure. Sure.
But yeah.
And how did you find out about that? I mean, he didn't just do it in the house. It's like a take-home thing, or he just came to you after he did the test, or how did
He
that?
came after the test and he's like, yeah, it wasn't a test, it was like a survey.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like, so we had this like weird survey. And I was like, well, what's weird about it? And then, he's describing it, and I was like, oh my God. Okay. So let's start researching homeschooling programs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then we sent in communications to the principals and the teachers saying that if any of these surveys are being issued, we do not consent.
Mm-hmm.
You can send it to us first, and we'll review it and let you know if we're okay with this being given to our children. And then at the end of the first school year in middle school for our son, he kind of did the same thing I did. He kind of advanced out of the school. He's like, I'm not really learning anything. I want to go to school because I get to do track.
Right.
I get to run in school. That was why he liked going to school.
Mm-hmm.
Coupled with these surveys that were being done and not really focused on true education, we decided to pull him out of public school and put him into a homeschool program,
Okay.
which we did through Applied Scholastics Online. They have amazing programs. He's doing absolutely phenomenal. He's got maybe another month to go, and then he'll get his high school diploma with honors, and he just turned 16. So,
Nice. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and then and your daughter, I'm assuming, they give the same test? Is this like for all ages, or she's not there where they're give her that test or whatever exam?
So we put her into a different school, a different middle school, because it was smaller.
Mm-hmm.
They did have similar surveys that they were going to do, but we were ahead of it. So we let them know, we're not okay with any of this. She's here for education. So it's been not as bad, but we're not putting her in a public high school.
Right.
We'll put her in an educationally driven public high school. Private high school.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so and I want to go back to like, there's some things that are helpful and some things that are not helpful, right? So if you go and you're gonna, I don't know, post on social media about how Common Core is the end of the universe and this and how you hate all of school, I don't know. Like, let's just say, like, if you do that, doesn't really change like your child, right? Like, I mean,
no, it doesn't.
I know that's like the response some people have. It's like, oh, whatever, and they just go online. But in your case, it's like, no, here's my children, and you're connected enough with them. So when that happens, you're like, okay, good. Here's this other way, and you're actually really showing them the things they need to learn, right? And whether it's only 40 minutes a day or whatever it is that you're putting in, you actually circumvent the government dictating your child's education by by being there.
Yeah, and the more involved you are with your children, the more they're going to tell you.
Yep.
Right. So they would tell us everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then when there were things that would come up that were non-optimum in my eyes as a parent with raising my children, then I would go to the source. I'd go to the principal, or I'd go to the teacher, or I'd go to the parent of the other kid and say, look, this is what I found out. This is what's happening. Let me know if this is wrong. If it's not wrong, then I don't agree with this.
Yep.
And they're my children. They're not the school's children. So
Right.
the school has to follow your instructions. They can't make your children do something that you disagree with. So
Is that a? I don't know if that's at all everywhere. I mean, maybe.
I don't know.
I just don't know.
I mean, in California, I sent them a letter. I say, you do this again, we're going to have troubles.
Yeah.
And they don't do it again.
Okay.
So
So it worked out.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. So do you think, right, like, I don't know how much of the history you know, but like and if you don't know this, I know you're not an education expert, you're like, we should talk about money and mortgages and stuff, but like, do you know when it became like a thing where the government is the one who's supposed to teach your child?
I don't know the answer to that, but I know that there was a big push in some presidential administration on the Department of Education to take over schooling or to have a bigger influence in schooling versus the state running the schooling. And I believe, but I am not sure, that was kind of a point where it started going south in my view. But I'd have to do more research on that. Yeah.
Fair enough. Anyway, so you have great kids, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
And now for business, right? So one thing that I guess a lot of the people listening may or may not know, you've studied a lot of courses, right? Like, I mean, a lot, like
Yeah.
many.
I've done a lot of training. For life purposes. Yeah. How to be a better individual, how to help others. A lot of training like that.
Like having a happy baby course.
Yeah.
You did that one, or
Yeah.
like
Or
raising
teens and tweens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's like in Scientology, you're studying how to have like a good life.
How to have good skills. Because I tell you, and I didn't believe this until my kids started turning 13, 14, 15. When they turn into a teen, they are a different person.
Oh, right.
Right?
Okay.
The hormones start happening, and the whole puberty thing, and then the friends that they're associating with, they change,
Mm-hmm.
right? So maybe your stable datums that you've been operating with up to that point no longer work, right? So I found on this one course in our church, Raising Teens and Tweens, it gives new stable datums of how to have a successful relationship with your teen and tween when they're going through that, that time of their life, and extremely helpful. So yeah, I'll put a plug. Do that course if you can.
Interesting. I'll be having a teen soon.
Yeah.
So
And it's super simple course. I mean, it takes what, a couple hours to do the course?
Yeah.
And it gives you tools that you can apply with your teen and your tween to give them the freedoms that they now want, but keep them in focused on where they need to be going.
Brilliant. And then in terms of business, so like, I know we went over this on the other podcast, like all the stuff that you've been doing, but like, what kind of training did you do? Because did you go to college, or you didn't go to college? Or?
No, I dropped out of middle school.
Okay. So I thought it must go. That's right. Yeah, you mentioned that. So like, what like did you study, or you said, hey, you want to make money, and then you did, and your drive was so big, like nothing mattered, or you're like, hey, I need to make money now. I need to go study this so that I can make do this business and have success, and like, what's your kind of like the drive? Because of course the purpose is there.
Yeah.
But like then you need to know something, right? You can't just like go out there like I'll make it, and then
that's been a big learning curve for me, right? Because I was always productive as an individual. As a loan officer, I could get loans done. As a house flipper, I could get houses flipped, right? And then my father passed away in 2021. Prior to that, I had a rental company, but that was real easy to manage and maintain because I had flipped houses, so really wasn't hard. But in 2021, my father passed away, and he was the broker of our mortgage company. As soon as you find out that you no longer have a broker in a mortgage company, that creates lots of problems, right? You can't operate a mortgage company without a licensed broker. So that compelled me to go and do my Department of Real Estate in California broker training and licensing, which took some months to get through. That allowed me to be a broker of a company in real estate and financing, but it didn't teach me how to run a company, right? But so I would say I started with the companies just out of necessity. I have to do this. And then after that, I started connecting up with others who have successful companies to find out what are they doing, what are they studying. And that's how I started learning and growing my educational skills in running and operating a business and building a business. Yourself, you've got massive, companies. You're talking about successful, and then we have a number of other, mutual friends who are, own and operate large companies. So I would sit down with them and pick their brain, find out what did they study, what did they learn, get recommendations, order all those books, study them, start applying them.
Yeah, reading is so important.
Yeah.
There's a stat that I read, something like after a person graduates college, like on average, so I don't know, 70-80% of people after college will read their last nonfiction book of their life when they finish college.
Really?
It's a ridiculous number, and I'll have to pull it up and like put it in here, but like
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like it's such a small, maybe 90%. It's like a lot.
Yeah.
And when I see someone like yourself, like, hey, you're reading books. Like I will, like you can see the shelf. I have books here. Like I'm reading. Yeah. If I didn't read, I don't know, 8 books in a year, I feel like, wow, I know that's not like that much. Like obviously, I don't know. There's I think Warren Buffett or like one a week, or Bill Gates one a week, or whoever. I don't know.
I need to up my reading.
Something. Yeah, it's like insane. But Yeah, finding out. You need to learn.
Yeah, you
Like
have to
learning
learn.
is so vital.
But there's so much information out there,
Yeah.
right? So it's finding out and getting that information. You know, you could go on Amazon and look up books to build a business. You'll get 50 pages of 100 books on each page. You know, what do you start with? And half of them might have false information in it. So for me, it was connecting up with other successful business owners. What did they do? What did they do that failed? Right? Find those pitfalls so you can avoid them. And what did they study and learn so that they can build a better business? You know.
Yep. Nice. Is there what recommendations would you have? Like, hey, someone starting off, like they want to do better. Like, what are your foundational stuff? You're like, this was something I needed to. Well, Scientology or not, like, isn't like, whatever. But what is something that like found fundamentally for you to succeed in business? Like, here are some tips. Like, you need to know this stuff.
I think my favorite book to date, which I don't know if Whitney recommended this or someone else, it's called the E Myth.
Oh, E Myth Revisited or something.
Yeah, E Myth Revisited by
somebody.
Gerald Panoli or something like that. And the E is the entrepreneur, so it's the entrepreneurial myth. You know, someone who's a successful technician, right? They're really good at doing loans, which is what I was, or they're a really good mechanic, or they're really good at making frothers. So they want to start a business. Just because they're good at making that or doing loans doesn't mean that they know anything about a business. They know the one function, but they don't know all the other functions that are involved in a business, all the financing and all the executive things that you need to do and all the HR regulations. And I'm in California. Oh my God. I'm wearing a hat because I'm going bald from all the HR regulations. But, right? So the E-Myth defined or redefined or visited or something like that, that book allowed me to start pulling out of being the one who does everything so that I can start working on all these other things.
Nice.
Yeah.
I check out that book.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So what about because we talked about some of your business stuff, and again, business we have out on the other podcast.
Yeah.
Your children. Now, what about like you and Ari, right? Your marriage. You've been married for 22 years, right? You guys are you look happy. You look really like you have great kids. You just overall have like good role models. Okay, in my eyes.
Yeah, we love each other. We've been married since 2003, so 22 years now. We live together. We work together, we exercise together, we read together, we study together. Our entire life is done together.
Yeah.
There's very little that we do apart from each other.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm here in Florida just visiting our church just for a few days. If Ari were here, it would probably be the three of us
correct,
doing
correct.
this.
Yeah.
And let's see. I would say we have a very successful marriage and relationship, again, because of the tools that I've learned and that my wife has learned in Scientology. Having a successful marriage, it's another, life improvement course that we have. We're truthful with each other. We are constantly working to refine what our goals are together so that we're always on the same page, trying to accomplish the same thing. And that's on every aspect of our life, with our children, with our health and fitness, and with our businesses, with our charitable contributions that we do. With our house rebuilding, that was quite an ordeal, rebuilding a house after we lost the fires. That, if you ever rebuild your own house, that will test your patience.
I mean, I've been to your house is incredible. Your house is amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, you guys did that house is like stunning, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but always being on the same page. And the moment we find that we're veering from the same page, that's when we revisit our goals and our purposes. And okay, her goal is here and my goal is here. What if we work on this? It's kind of a combination of the two. Not exactly what she was initially going for, not exactly what I was going for, but some kind of compromise that we're both really happy about. And now we're both focused on that goal. You know, and we revisit those goals religiously once a year, and if we find that we're faltering or exceeding those goals, then we'll revisit them throughout the year to redefine them. So
Nice. Unlike the spiritual nature, right?
Yeah.
Like this is, I mean, Scientology is a religion for a
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
Right. It's dealing with the
it deals
person.
with the spirit. Yeah.
And at least from what I've seen, right, from the things I've done so far, like sometimes there are some things that occur that are sort of inexplicable.
Yes, there are.
Like how, like what, how did this happen? Like you can't say like, oh, I did this line, I did this thing, and this happened. It's like things just happen differently.
Yeah.
What have you noticed like now for you yourself personally, now that you've done, the bridge?
Well, I would say, I mean, there's all sorts of odd cause and effects, like what you're saying. You know, read this book, and then all of a sudden, this long lost friend calls out of the blue. And the book that I was reading was about connecting with people. Right?
Yeah.
But I would say, when you want something, you are consciously deciding if you want it, or if you want it with conditions, or if you don't think you're ever going to get it. Right? So you're setting a goal for yourself. In Scientology, we call it a postulate. You're setting a postulate. I want this, or I am going to have that, or this is going to happen, right? And when the spirit is burdened by things that have happened over time, traumatic experiences or upsets or losses or injuries, his ability, the spirit's ability to make that postulate get hampered, right? He, when he's all burdened, he might say, it would be nice if I could have a business. You can already see he's kind of putting it there that it's going to be hard for him. He can't quite do it.
Yeah.
Right? When you get up the bridge, you don't have these things that get in your way. They're like, this year we're gonna 3x our business. At the end of the year, you look at your stats. Oh my God, we 3x the business.
Yeah.
It just happens. Things
Yeah.
happen. I need to get a hold of my aunt who I haven't spoken to in a couple of years because I found this thing of hers and I need to figure out where to send it to. She emails me.
Yeah.
Things just happen because I'm able to put a postulate there that doesn't have anything holding the postulate back. And that is probably one of the best results of auditing, and processing and moving up the different levels in Scientology.
Beautiful. Okay, now last question. In your own words, what is Scientology?
In my own words, well, Scientology is the study of knowledge, the study of knowing how to know something, and the route of spiritual betterment for yourself and others.
Nice.
There you
Great
go.
and concise.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, good. Any parting words? Anything you wanna share? This is your chance.
Here's my chance.
Yeah.
Well, it's always a pleasure coming in here and getting to meet with you. And if you get a chance to check out any of his podcasts and his products, he's got some amazing stuff. So do that. Next time my wife is in town, you got to interview her, or
Absolutely.
maybe the two of us together.
100%.
I would say if you want to check out Scientology, see what it can do for you. There are courses in learning how to learn. If you stumble or not sure how to clear a word, there's courses for that. If you have children, want to have children, you're married, want to get married, there are very simple courses for that, and they will improve your life. So
there you go. I wanted to, I don't know if this might be like a serious question I ask some other people too, but you deal with a lot of guys, a lot of people, women, men, whatever.
Yeah.
And so, when they find out that you're a Scientologist,
Okay.
what is kind of like the normal reaction, or what are like the most common question you might get asked, like when they find out if you're a Scientologist, if people are asking you stuff?
Yeah. Well, I would say the people who find out that I'm a Scientologist are employees. Right?
Okay.
the clients that we work with, it doesn't ever really come up. But when an employee finds out that we're a Scientologist, what usually happens is they get very interested because they see that we're genuinely happy, we care for people, and we're trying to build, giant booming businesses. So, and we associate that with our training and what we've done in Scientology. So 99% or 98%, there's 2% who are like, oh my God, don't convert me. And I'm like, I never was,
Yeah.
So they kind of create their own thing. But 98% of the people who ask us about it are genuinely fascinated. They want to read something about it. So we'll give them something simple, like the communication formula or the problems of workbook. They read it and they are like just absolutely blown away at how simple and useful the tools are. And then let's see, I would say about maybe 2 or 3 months later, they end up coming up to me saying, I did this tool and it worked. It really worked, because Scientology is an applied religious philosophy, right? It's something that you apply, you do. It's not like other religions where if you believe, then something will happen. This is, no, you do. You do this in order to get this result. It's a new way of thinking. That's why Scientology is such a new religion. It's an applied philosophy, and there isn't something else that's like that. Scientology is also non-denominational or all-denominational, right? So I've got friends who are Christians and Buddhists and Taoists and all the religions who also practice Scientology because they're just able to use tools. So the people who ask me about it are genuinely interested. I show them something, and then they are just floored that they haven't heard about it before.
Right. Yeah. Amazing. Okay, well, thank you so much, guys. Ken Walker, amazing Scientologist, father, third generation Scientologist, by the way, and helped us get started in the business world. So,
yeah,
you can.
Yeah. All right.
That's it.